I'm always wary of giving labels of optimism or pessimism. I'm certainly as clear as you are that the drive from the American administration is very strong, but the sense of talks being stalled is also very, very strong. The two sides have not found the common ground to come together. I think that President Obama and his administration are engaged in a good faith endeavour, and I think that we've got to stick with it, because the fact that it hasn't yet succeeded isn't a determination that it will inevitably fail.
Moving on to Afghanistan, do you have faith in the new Karzai administration after the cancellation of the runoff and the fraud of the first round of elections? Does Britain have a credible partner in Kabul? What does Britain expect of the new Karzai administration after all the accusations of cronyism and corruption swirling around Karzai?
He came out and spoke very clearly about national unity, about tackling corruption, about building up security forces of his own, not relying on foreign, about reaching out to his neighbours, notably Pakistan, and also about making sure that as many of the insurgency as possible are brought back into the political system. And I think that that is an important statement that President Karzai has made. He's said many things that people wanted to hear from him, and now we need to turn them into practice.
But do you have faith in Karzai?
We know that he's the leader of Afghanistan who got more votes than anyone else. He's someone who's shown himself to have very large skills, very big skills of promoting national unity. What we need to work with him to achieve is the translation of those commitments to national unity into real action. So the appointment of his cabinet and governors will be very important.
Matthew Ho, the US State Department official who resigned last week in protest over the Afghan war, said, "I fail to see the value or worth in continued US casualties or expenditure of resources in support of the Afghan government in what is truly a 35-year-old civil war. After 8 years, isn't it time to accept that this war cannot be won?"
The threat from the Taliban is not a 35-year threat. You and I know that it's a more recent creation. And I think that the link between Taliban and Al-Qaeda is a threat to all of us. We are not trying to create a colony in Afghanistan. We want Afghanistan to be a state that's able to run its own affairs in the interest of its own people, in line with its own traditions. But at the moment, without foreign support, its government would end up getting rolled over by an insurgency that retains capacity to be deadly. But I think that the consequences of a premature withdrawal would be dangerous not just for Afghanistan but for Pakistan as well.
Iran appears to be stalling on the deal recently brokered at the IAEA. Are you, the P5+1, willing to negotiate any further on this deal, or do you have a plan B?
Well, it's very disappointing not to have had a response from Tehran, first of all to the offer that we made them in May 2008. That's 15, 16, 17 months ago, which was to say very clearly that Iran can be treated as a normal country, exercising its rights under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, if it behaves as a normal country, accepting its responsibilities not to be a nuclear weapons proliferator. And we haven't had a response to that. Secondly, much more recently, there's been a proposal put to them to ship out their low-enriched uranium and to have it developed outside the country and then brought back for medical research purposes. We haven't had a proper answer on that, and it's disappointing not to get that sort of engagement, because what I think the international community has shown very clearly is it does not seek to victimize Tehran. Tehran is the author of its own isolation.
What about your plan B?
We've been very open about the tracks that we are going on. There's an engagement track and there's a sanctions track. It was reaffirmed by the P5+1 at a meeting I chaired in New York in September. It's been very clear on that we seek a resolution of this nuclear standoff, and that we have two tracks to our policy, and we'll review that policy in the light of final Iranian conclusions in respect of the offers that we've made.
You've been mooted as a candidate for the post of the EU's new High Representative for Foreign Policy. Are you interested in that job?
Well, I've said many times I'm not a candidate and I'm not available, so I'm happy to repeat that to you.